Have you ever gone through days so dark that you just wanted to turn off every light and disappear from this world? Those times when you're so exhausted you just want to let go of everything, when every word of encouragement feels completely empty, and you silently ask yourself, what is hope in days this dark? This video doesn't promise a miracle, but it will sit with you in the night and gently light a small candle. A candle of understanding, of compassion for yourself, and of the quiet trust that this moment is only one very small page in your whole journey of awakening. If you want each day to have one more small candle for your heart, you are warmly invited to subscribe to Buddha's loving words so you won't miss those few minutes of coming home to yourself. Please stay until the end of this video and let something soft and quiet settle in your heart, just for you. When darkness closes in. There are seasons in life when you feel like you are walking through a long tunnel with no exit. You wake up already tired. You go to bed with a quiet emptiness gnawing inside. Things that used to make you happy no longer mean very much. From the outside, people may think you are fine. You still work. You still laugh and talk. But only you know that beneath all that normal life, there is a long night you cannot easily name. In moments like that, people often tell you, hang in there, it will get better. But inside, a small voice asks, when? When will these days ever end? Sometimes you blame yourself. I'm too weak. Why can't I be strong like other people? Sometimes you think, maybe this is all my life will ever be. Those thoughts make the darkness even thicker. They make you lose hope, even in your own capacity to heal. But in the Buddha's teaching, darkness is not the enemy. And hope is not about trying to pretend there is no suffering. The Buddha never taught us to act as if there were no pain. He showed us a very different way to walk through pain. Hope, in the light of the Dharma, is not blind optimism. It is not putting ourselves to sleep with empty promises. Hope is the courage to light even a single candle right in the middle of the thickest night. The image of a candle in the dark is very beautiful. It becomes even more beautiful when we see how it appeared in real lives at the time of the Buddha. There was a woman named Kisa Gotami, well known in the scriptures. She lost her only child. The pain felt like her heart was being torn apart. She carried the child's body from place to place, begging people to bring him back to life. Everyone looked at her with pity in their eyes and told her no one could do such a thing. But the heart of a mother in despair cannot easily accept reality. People told her to go and see the Buddha with the tiny hope that an enlightened one might be able to help. When she met him, the Buddha did not offer empty, comforting words. He did not tell her, be strong, so she could move on quickly. He said, I will help you if you can bring me a handful of mustard seeds from a house where no one has ever died. She was overjoyed. She felt she had finally found a way out. She went from door to door. Everyone was ready to give her mustard seeds. But when she asked, has anyone ever died in this house? The answer was always, yes, of course. Our parents, our brothers and sisters, our children. Every house had already lost someone. As evening came, she sat down by the side of the road, holding an empty bowl. Suddenly she understood. Death does not come only to her family. This pain is not carried by her alone. The life of human beings is always like this, arriving and leaving, being born and passing away, meeting and parting. In that moment, a small candle was lit in her heart. It was the candle of awakening to the truth of impermanence. She went back to the Buddha, no longer asking him to bring the child back to life, but asking to learn how to walk through this loss. In that story, the darkness does not disappear. Her beloved child does not return. But one thing has changed. Instead of being completely swept away by despair, Kisa Gotami finds a new place to stand in understanding and acceptance. Hope here is not the hope that things will go back to the way they were. It is the hope that she can grow from this very wound, that she can learn to keep living without denying the truth. There are days when the long night feels endless. Your heart keeps asking, when will the dawn ever come? The Buddha taught impermanence not to make us more sad, but to remind us that no night lasts forever. When the night feels endless, remember that even the longest night still has a dawn. This sentence does not promise that everything will unfold exactly as we want. It simply reminds us that no feeling and no situation stays the same. One day, the storm in your heart will calm down, just as every heavy rain that has ever fallen has also had to stop. But we often forget this. When the storm rises, all we can see is lightning, wind, and pounding rain. We forget that behind those dark clouds, the sky is still there, vast and unbroken by any storm. The Buddha taught, no storm can erase the sky. No sorrow can erase your capacity to be free. If we sit still for just a moment and let this teaching drop into us like a clear drop of water, we may feel something shift. What is shaking is only the layers of feelings and thoughts. Deep inside, the nature of the mind is still able to be spacious, steady, and free. When you believe, I am fundamentally bad, I don't deserve peace, you are seeing yourself as a sky filled only with dark clouds, forgetting the blue sky behind them. Hope in the Buddha's way begins with changing that way of seeing. We do not deny the storm, but we also do not become the storm. We allow ourselves to feel sad, tired, and lost. But when we remember the sky behind the storm, we know there is still a clear space inside us that has never been completely destroyed. So, a candle in the dark does not have to be some dramatic action. Sometimes it is simply the moment you dare to sit down, breathe deeply, and look straight at your own suffering without running away. Sometimes it is a short verse you whisper in your heart, a tiny prayer, a gentle hug you give yourself, or a simple decision. Today, I will stop scolding myself. Those very small gestures, repeated again and again, slowly light up a new area of light inside. The night may be long, but dawn has already begun its journey toward you. The storm may be fierce, but the sky never disappears. In the middle of everything that seems to be falling apart, if you can protect even one small thread of hope, one little candle of awareness and understanding, that itself is the first doorway to healing. Hope is not saying, there is no darkness. Hope is whispering to yourself, I will still light a candle, even if my hands are shaking, even if the wind is strong. And with that single small candle, the night inside you is already very different. Small steps in the night. When we finally realize that we are living in a long night, the next question is not, how can I get out of the darkness right now? The real question is, how can I keep walking without collapsing? On the path of practice, we often demand too much from ourselves. We want the suffering to end right away. We want enlightenment to come quickly. We want to change our entire life in a very short time. When we cannot do that, we turn around and blame ourselves for being powerless. But in the light of the Dharma, transformation rarely happens as a dramatic jump. It looks much more like a series of small steps, very gentle steps, steps taken in the dark while we still cannot see the whole path. You do not have to see the whole path. You only need to keep walking one more gentle step. Before his enlightenment, the Buddha himself went through a time like that. After leaving his royal palace, he practiced extreme asceticism for many years. He pushed his body so hard that he became skin and bones. He believed that the more he tortured the body, the closer he would be to liberation. But slowly, his strength ran out. His body became exhausted. His mind grew foggy. At one point, he collapsed on the bank of the Naranjara River. If he had continued down that extreme path, the young ascetic would likely have ended in death, not enlightenment. In that fragile moment, he realized something. No real wisdom can arise on a body that is completely broken. That was the moment when the middle way began to appear in his heart. No more chasing the two extremes of indulgence and self-torture. Around that time, a cowherd girl named Sujata brought him a bowl of milk. For many people, accepting that bowl of milk seems like a small detail, but in truth, it was a huge turning point. For the first time in many years, he allowed himself to be nourished again. He allowed his body to recover. He allowed himself to pause and look more deeply into the path he had been walking. That gentle step was not giving up. It was an adjustment to walk in the right direction. We can see a message there that is very close to our own life. We do not need to see everything that lies ahead. We only need the courage to do the kindest, small thing we can do today. To rest when it is time to rest. To eat in a way that truly nourishes us. To speak to ourselves with one kind sentence instead of pushing ourselves away or beating ourselves up. From these gentle steps, we come to another doorway, the doorway of mindful breathing. When despair rises, the mind throws out hundreds of questions in scary stories. What if I lose my job tomorrow? What if they leave me? What if I never get better? These streams of thinking carry us away like a flood with no shore. In the teaching of Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, the Buddha gave us a very concrete anchor. We only need to come back and feel the in-breath and the out-breath in this very body. In the middle of despair, even one mindful breath is already a doorway to hope. Imagine one evening your mind is in panic. Your head is spinning with worries about the future. In that moment, you place your hand on your chest. You close your eyes. You breathe in, knowing clearly, I am breathing in. You breathe out, knowing clearly, I am breathing out. In just 10 breaths, you may notice a little space appearing between you and your thoughts. The thoughts may still be there, but they no longer choke you the way they did a few minutes before. The Buddha told the monks many times, whoever knows how to come back to the breath always carries within themselves a place of refuge, no matter where they are. The breath does not solve every problem in life, but it is the first doorway that keeps us from being swept away. Then there will be times when even after those gentle steps, even after those mindful breaths, you still burst into tears. We easily think that tears are a sign of failure, of weakness, but in the light of the Dharma, tears can be part of the healing process. Do not be afraid of your tears. They are the rain that clears the air for a new light to appear. In the scriptures, the story of Patakara is a deep example. Patakara was once a young woman who seemed happy, but in a short time she lost her husband, lost her 2 children, and then heard that her parents had also died in an accident. The pain was so great that she went mad. She wandered like a crazy person, with torn clothes, wild hair, crying and screaming as she walked. People avoided her. They were afraid. They looked down on her. One day, she came near the place where the Buddha was teaching. He did not drive her away. He let her come close, let her listen, and gently showed her a wider truth. He said that over countless lifetimes, the tears of all beings because of loss and suffering are more than the water in the 4 oceans. This teaching did not deny her present pain. It placed that pain inside a larger context of impermanence. She cried a lot. But under the light of the Dharma, those tears slowly became a cleansing rain for her mind. From someone who had lost all reason, she became one of the enlightened nuns, living a life of awakening. What saved her was not, stop crying right now. It was the permission to cry, to face her pain, but not alone. There was mindfulness. There was the Buddha's guidance. There was understanding of impermanence as her life raft. When we allow ourselves to cry in awareness, to be present with each tear, to know, I am sad, I am hurting, I am grieving, then the tears are no longer a deep pit. They become rain that washes clean the sky inside us. We do not have to pretend to be strong. We do not have to hide our feelings. We only need not to lose ourselves in the storm of those feelings. Like Patakara, we can let the rain fall again and again, until one day we realize that the sky after the rain is clearer than it ever was before. There will also be times when we have cried, breathed, and tried our best, yet still feel like we have failed. In those moments, we easily want to give up. Why try anymore? But true hope almost never arrives as a loud slogan. It comes into our life as a very quiet voice. Try one more time, but with more understanding. Hope does not shout, it whispers like that. And the most important part of that whisper is those four words: with more understanding now. In the text, there is the story of a monk named Sona. At first, Sona was extremely diligent. He practiced so hard that the soles of his feet were bleeding from walking meditation. When he did not reach the results he hoped for, he felt discouraged and thought about leaving the monastic life. The Buddha knew this and came to him. He asked, "When you were still a layman, did you play the lute?" Sona said, "Yes." The Buddha asked, "If the strings of the lute are too tight, what happens?" "Lord, the sound is harsh and not beautiful." "And if the strings are too loose, what happens?" "Lord, then it makes no sound." The Buddha smiled and said, "In the same way, if you are too tense, trying too hard, your mind will not be at peace. If you are too loose, you will not progress. The right way is the middle way, not too tight, not too loose." After that teaching, Sona did not give up. He tried one more time with more understanding. He adjusted the way he practiced. He learned when to be diligent and when to relax. Because of that, he eventually attained awakening. That story tells us something important. Failure is not the final period. It is a chance to pause, to learn a little more understanding, and then continue walking more gently and more wisely. On the path of walking through our own long night, we do not need to do big things. Each gentle step, each mindful breath, each tear allowed to fall, each time we try again with more understanding, is a small movement that saves us from despair. Sometimes the difference between sinking and staying afloat lies in one very small decision. Today, I will not give up. I will light one small candle. I will take one more gentle step. I will breathe one deeper breath. And if I need to cry, I will cry, but I will not turn my back on myself anymore. In those moments that seem small and ordinary, the path of awakening is already quietly opening under your feet. Keeping the small flame. In the middle of a crisis, many of us have felt, "I have nothing left." Work is stuck, relationships are breaking, health is declining, faith is shaking. In those times, it is easy to let go of the small things that used to nourish us. We no longer want to meditate. We stop chanting. We stop walking mindfully. We stop caring for the body. We do not even want to speak gently anymore. We think, what is there to keep when everything has already fallen apart? Exactly in those moments, the Dharma whispers something very tender. When the big things seem to collapse, come back and protect the smallest but truest things you still have. When it seems you have lost everything, let your practice be the small flame you hold carefully in both hands. What is that flame? It can be a few quiet minutes before sleep. It can be one simple verse you recite in your heart when you are exhausted. It can be one deep breath in the middle of the day. It can be a sincere apology when you have hurt someone. From the outside, these things look insignificant, but for the inner life, they are like a small candle in a dark room. If we blow out that candle, darkness will cover everything. If we gently protect it, patiently keep it from going out, then over time the light will spread much more than we expect. In the sutras, there is a beautiful story about keeping the flame through caring for the sick. Once the Buddha and the monks were staying in a monastery. He heard a faint groan from one room and went there with Venerable Ananda. They found an elderly monk lying in bed, his body dirty because no one was caring for him. The other monks, afraid of catching disease, had stayed away. The Buddha did not scold the sick monk. He did not stand at a distance and preach empty words. He and Ananda heated water, bathed him, washed his robe, and cleaned his room with their own hands. After that, the Buddha gathered the community and said, "Monks, you no longer have father and mother. If you do not care for one another, who will care for you? Whoever cares for the sick is caring for the Tathagata. Those words are a great flame, but they are lit from very small actions. Washing dirt, wiping a body, cleaning a robe for someone who is helpless. Practice is not only sitting upright on a cushion, it is also each gesture of care for one another and for ourselves. When we can keep a small bit of kindness even in very bad conditions, we are holding the small flame of practice with both hands. But there will be days when we feel we have no strength left to do anything, even good things. On those days, wisdom feels far away. Ideals feel heavy. What we need most is a soft and warm energy, compassion. On the days you feel you have no strength left, let compassion carry you. Compassion here is not first about loving others. It is about coming back to love ourselves. Remember the story of Angulimala, a famous murderer in the Buddha's time. He had killed many people, threading their fingers into a necklace around his neck. The whole region was terrified of him. One day the Buddha decided to walk toward him. Angulimala saw the Buddha and ran after him with the intention to kill. Strangely, the faster he ran, the more he could not catch up, even though the Buddha was walking very calmly. Tired and angry, he shouted, "Monk, stop!" The Buddha turned and said gently, "I stopped long ago. It is you who have not yet stopped." Those words cut through Angulimala's ignorance like a sharp blade. For the first time, he stopped and looked at his own life. All this time, he had let hatred and anger drag him along like a man being pulled by a chain, never once truly stopping. The Buddha did not use force. He did not condemn him. He used compassion and wisdom to touch the human heart still left inside that killer. As a result, Angulimala completely changed and became a gentle monk. With ourselves, we also need that kind of compassion. When we say to ourselves, "You are useless, you are nothing," we turn ourselves into someone being hunted by our own cruel voice. Compassion is when we dare to stop, place a hand on our chest and say, "I have suffered so much already. I do not need another blow. What I need now is to be held." Sometimes compassion simply means allowing ourselves to rest, pausing a harmful habit, drinking a warm glass of water, taking a short walk under the evening sky. When we have no strength left, let these small actions walk for us, as if compassion itself were holding our hand, gently walking us through a tired stretch of the road. If we practice without compassion, the flame goes out easily. We turn practice into a contest, a pressure, a long list of must and should. When we fail to meet that list, we attack ourselves again. Then the flame is no longer protected. It is shaken by the winds of judgment and force. But when we do everything with a compassionate heart, compassion for the body, for the mind, for those around us, each small action becomes a new match lighting more brightness in the dark room. In all the storms of life, the hardest thing is to remember that the storm will pass. When suffering rises, the mind tightens. Our vision narrows. We see only lightning and dark clouds. The Dharma reminds us, remember the sky, not just the storm. The sky is the wide, clear, free nature of the mind. The storm is the waves of emotion, the situations, the events. When we believe we are the storm, we forget the sky. When we come back to the breath, to a short verse, to one compassionate act, we are reaching out to touch the sky again. In the sutras, the Buddha often compared the mind to a lake. When the wind rises, the water becomes muddy. It cannot reflect the moon or the stars. But the nature of water is not lost. When the wind stops, the lake becomes clear again. In the same way, when we keep a little mindfulness and compassion, even if the storm is still there, we are already creating the conditions for the lake of the mind to settle down. Then the moon of understanding and peace can appear. Keeping the small flame of practice, letting compassion lift us up, and not forgetting the sky behind the storm, all of this is real practice. These are not abstract ideas. They are concrete actions in daily life. Each time we choose a softer word, take a deeper breath, care for someone who is ill, or gently wipe away our own tears, we add one more drop of oil to the inner flame. Maybe today that flame is still weak, still trembling. But if we stay patient, tender, and do not abandon it, one day we will realize the darkness inside us is no longer the same. And the road ahead is already brighter, even if only a little, because it is a light we ourselves have lovingly kept alive. Just one page of your life. There are moments when we look at our life as if it were a book already written from beginning to end. A few early chapters are full of wounds. The next chapters are filled with failures. Some pages are blackened by our wrong choices. Then we conclude, this is all my life will ever be. In that state, the present moment feels like a life sentence. What is happening now, this sadness, this situation, this role I am stuck in, we treat it as the final destiny, with no way to turn. But in the light of the Dharma, this is a deep, wrong view. We mistake one fragment for the whole. We cling to one page as if it were the entire book of our life. The Buddha whispers to us, remember, this moment is not your whole life. It is only one page in your journey of awakening. In the teaching of impermanence, he says, everything that appears is changing. The body, the feelings, the thoughts, the circumstances. No emotion is for life. No failure is forever. No success is truly unchanging. This is not only true for things outside us, it is also true for who we are. The person you are today, with your wounds, your weaknesses, your habits, is not your final sentence. It is only a temporary result of countless conditions. And because it is made of conditions, it can be transformed by new conditions. There is a story in the sutras very close to this truth. One day, a man came to the Buddha with a heart full of hatred and blame. He told the Buddha about the injustices he had suffered, the harm others had done to him, the mistakes he himself had made. Then he concluded, this is just who I am, hot-tempered, bad, unlucky. I cannot change anymore. The Buddha listened in silence. Then he asked, friend, if a person is struck by a poisoned arrow, what is the first thing that needs to be done? The man replied, of course, we must pull out the arrow and treat the wound. The Buddha nodded. Exactly. But most beings, when they are struck by the arrow of suffering, spend all their time asking, who shot it? When did they shoot? What is the name of the poison? And they forget the urgent task of pulling the arrow out and healing. The arrow here is the situations, memories, and mistakes that once made us suffer. If we cling to them, retell them endlessly, repeat to ourselves, I am a victim, I am a terrible person, we nail ourselves to one painful page of our life and refuse to give ourselves the right to turn the page. The Buddha does not deny what has happened, but he invites us, first take out the arrow, accept that you are suffering, come back and care for the wound with mindfulness and compassion. When we start to heal, the story we tell about ourselves also begins to be rewritten, not with words of resentment, but with steps of awakening. In another situation, an old Brahmin came to the Buddha. He suffered from the feeling that it is too late. He said he had spent almost his entire life in ignorance, chasing fame and gain, making many mistakes. Now he wanted to practice, but he was afraid that the book of my life is already finished. The Buddha told him a story about a forest fire. After the fire, most of the trees were burned, but deep in the soil there were still seeds waiting for one good rain to sprout. Human life is the same. Even if many years have passed in laziness and carelessness, if in this moment we truly wake up, see our wrongs, and give rise to a sincere wish to live well, then that seed can make the rest of our life completely different. Then he reminded him of a well-known teaching. Even if one lives 100 years without knowing the Dharma, it is not as valuable as living one day with mindfulness. This does not mean time is unimportant. It means that the quality of awareness is what gives value to the pages of our life, not the length of the book. The old Brahmin listened, began to cry, and asked to take refuge in practice. The first part of his life may have been full of mistakes, but from that moment, the story turned in a new direction. We are the same. Maybe the chapters we have just lived through are full of choices we now do not want to remember. But in the light of the Dharma, the past is not a sentence, it is a lesson. Because we have walked through those dark bends, we now have the chance to wake up more deeply, to understand suffering, its causes, and the path that ends suffering. When we look back at our life as a journey of learning, instead of a chain of failures, we begin to see that the dark chapters also have their role. They are the backdrop that makes the light of hope, compassion, and wisdom shine more clearly. And there is one more gentle truth. We do not need to rewrite the whole book in one day. We only need to write well the page that is open now. Today, what is being written on the page of your life? Another sentence of self-blame, or a softer sentence toward yourself? Another act of running away from your feelings, or one breath where you dare to look back in? Another time of giving up, or one more gentle step, even if it is small? Each choice in the present is a sentence, a line of ink being written on that living page. Earlier, we walked through images like a candle in the dark, the long night in the dawn, the sky after the storm, the small flame of practice, compassion that walks for us. Now we see that all these images are really pointing to one thing. We have the right and the capacity to keep writing our story in a more awakened way, no matter how the first chapters looked. Each candle we dare to light, each gentle step we dare to take, each mindful breath we dare to return to, each tear we dare to hold, is quietly changing the voice of the book. From a story made only of tragedy, it becomes the journey of someone learning how to wake up. The Buddha never said to anyone, "You are hopeless." On the contrary, he saw in everyone, from learned Brahmins to poor beggars, the same capacity for enlightenment. They only differed in whether that capacity had been awakened or not. If a murderer can become pure, if people who lost so much they went insane can become enlightened nuns, then we, with all our clumsiness, are certainly not the exception. So if today you are standing on a very uncomfortable page, full of fatigue, loneliness, and confusion, allow yourself to breathe slowly and gently remind yourself, this moment is not my whole life. It is only one page in my journey of awakening. You do not need to tear out the old pages. You only need, from this page onward, to write a little differently. Be kinder to yourself. Be more present in each breath. Be more compassionate in each choice. And if you can, let yourself listen fully to the gentle reminders, like when you stay until the end of a video, just to keep one sentence that makes your heart a little softer. Please stay until the end of this video to receive something that is just for you. Who knows, that very moment when you sit still and truly listen may become the first page of a new chapter. A chapter where you are no longer the victim of the old story, but the one who is slowly waking up in the middle of your own life. If something in today's video has gently touched your heart, you can let me know with a like, a short comment, or by sharing it with someone who might be needing a small candle of hope. And if you'd like to have a few more moments each day to listen to the Buddha's teachings so your heart can feel a little more at peace, I warmly invite you to subscribe to Buddha's Loving Words and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. I wish you a truly peaceful evening and a heart still gentle enough to light a small candle just for yourself.
From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for supporting Buddha's Loving Words. May the teachings of the Buddha continue to touch every heart, bringing peace and happiness.